Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name's Beth. If you're new, welcome. Today I'm sharing a very large Kansas Dugout quilt block. Last time I was with you I showed how to make a small one using paper piecing, and you can do it like that and make real small quilt blocks, or you can go the route of this quilter. A long time ago I happened to have this quilt top to share, so I'm going to show you how to make this large Kansas Dugout. Let's get started. This beautiful Kansas Dugout quilt is, like I said, a vintage quilt top, and it's really fun to look at all the old fabrics incorporated here. Some of the four pieces that were used to make that block are all the same and some are different. This quilter also ran out of that orange background fabric, and you can see that she inserted some pieces around the outside that are more of a gold color, and that's just makes this quilt all the more fun. Here are the blocks I made last time I was with you, paper piecing, the same design, just a lot smaller. So I'm going to make the larger block using some yardage here. I am going to cut my strips 5.5 inches wide, and then I will cut them into 11-inch strips. I need to find the center, and I measured the first one, and then I took some of the other strips over here to my ironing board, and I will just press them in half to find the center of each end of this 5.5 by 11-inch strip to make my Kansas Dugout. So I'm going to take a square ruler. It has a line diagonally through the middle, and it also has both directions, I guess. So I'm going to line that, put that line on my fold and put it on the corner of my strip here, and I will cut those two corner triangles off. Another way to do this would be to take one of those fabric elongated hexagons that I showed you how to make right there, and make yourself a cardboard template so that you could place it on fabric. You might have fabric that you could use less yardage that way, I'm not sure, but that's another way to get this shape. So this is another way to cut that shape. Instead of opening up that rectangle, I left it folded, and I put that diagonal line from my ruler on the fold, and then I was able to cut both triangles at the same time. This was sort of a learning curve. I was trying to figure out how to do it, so I'm giving you some options and showing you a couple ways to make this shape for the Kansas Dugout. My quilt block, I also need a 6-inch square, so I'll have 4 of these hexagons and that square in the middle, and I will be sewing these together using a 1/4 inch seam. And I will need to stop before I get to the end of each of these edges of the hexagons and that square. So I'm going to mark a 1/4 inch in all of those corners using my ruler and the 1/4 inch line, and just putting a little dot there where they meet in each of those corners. I did the same thing on the back of my hexagons so that when I sew my pieces together, I'll know exactly where to begin and end. I need to have a 1/4 inch left over on each of these points so that I can join this quilt block together. I'm going to begin with a square and one of those long hexagons, and I'm going to try to center it. The square hangs off just a tiny bit, and I want those 2 little dots that I marked to be right on top of each other, and I'll start right on that dot, and I will backstitch just a little bit right there to keep it secure, and I will do the same thing on the other end. Now that I have 2 of my hexagons attached, I'm going to need to be really careful to get this 3rd hexagon on here, and I pulled the seams away from the center, and I'm going to try to get those pencil dots right together, and that's where I will begin and end, and I will sew the square to the side, and then I will sew those 2 sides together. And again, I'm going to need to leave an opening at each end so that when I have a few blocks, I'll be able to join them together. I did have quite a few triangles left over, making just this one block, and I put them into my triangle box. I just thought I'd share one little way that I organize in my sewing room. I have a box full of triangles, all different sizes, and this is just a handy place to go when I need a little piece of fabric, or if I want to just sew some triangles together, I know where they're located. I love this vintage quilt and all of those fun fabrics. It was really fun to run into this right after working on those tiny English paper piecing blocks. This one I think really fits in with the theme. Just another way to use that same shape, a totally different procedure and a totally different quilt. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.